That version of me was so lonely and so desperate to be loved and accepted. And she thought that love and acceptance needed to come from other people. My mind kept trying to control everything, but my body just collapsed.
Meet Sarah Simpson, body image, self-doubt coach, and someone who knows what it's like to build a body that looks healthy while slowly falling apart inside. In this episode, we talk about eating disorders that hide behind discipline, why hitting your dream body doesn't fix the pain, and how learning to listen to your body can feel more terrifying than ignoring it. What makes this episode different is that I'm not just asking the questions. I'm being the most vulnerable I've ever been to. This conversation goes deeper than self-love. It explores the cost of control, how discipline, identity, and body image become survival strategies, and what happens when holding it all together starts breaking you.
The moment I've said it out loud, and there was no going back.
It hit me that I take care of my body, not because I love it, but because I hate it.
Your dream body shouldn't be your dream body if it's a nightmare to maintain.
For the first time in my whole life, I hit my perfect body. I couldn't appreciate it. I will do that 10,000 times over sitting with this pain. Sarah, I usually start my podcast directly going deep with a particular question that I've thought through before. This podcast is different because I want to honor you, what you stand for. At the same time, I want to honor me, I want to honor our conversation, and I want to honor our audience. And how I'm doing this is by wearing something that I would usually not wear on my podcast. And the reason being is that the angle of the camera is revealing something that I don't like about my body, which are these beautiful, big, muscular biceps. And so up until every podcast episode I've done, I would wear something to cover them. Because it didn't feel comfortable for me to look for 1 hour in the camera and see a part of my body that I don't like. So I would wear long sleeves, I would wear tops that would cover this part. And I really wanna be fully present and vulnerable with you today, as I know that you will be. I want to thank you for being here and being part of not just His Plus One, but at the same time of my own journey and story and your own as well. So thank you very much for showing up.
We're sobbing already.
Oh, goodness.
What a start.
What a start.
What a start.
And I can tell you that I just feel these trembling feelings throughout my whole body, because it's a topic that I know is so important for so many women out there, and they struggle so much, and as I do as well, and we give our best and try our best to live with it, but it's just so hard. And so firstly, I want to thank you for what you do for yourself and for others. And secondly, let's just go into it. Who was Sarah before the Sarah I know today? Who was Sarah when she started and wanted to fix herself?
That version of me, the first thing that comes to mind is being maybe 14, 15, 16 years old. And she was so lonely and so desperate to be loved and accepted. And really what I see now is to love and accept herself, right? But at the time, that version of me thought that love and acceptance needed to come from other people. So she was seeking validation from, girls in school that weren't nice to her, who she was never good enough for, men that made her feel more like an object than a person, but that's what she had learned, her worth was rooted in, which is men's approval and what men think of our bodies. And she was also desperate to be perfect and completely unflawed inside as well. So everything from trying to be hyper productive, trying to be the perfect student, employee, child, friend, to thinking that her accomplishments and her achievements were going to bring her that peace and that self-acceptance she was always looking for. So she was so alone and lost and just desperate to be loved and seen.
I see the emotion in your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
When did you realize that you can't keep on going this way? That this is not sustainable, that you're hurting yourself even more?
Yeah, I had a huge turning point actually when COVID started. Up until March of 2020, I was in my last year of university, so I was 21. I had spent the last 4 years since the first day of university trying to lose weight, trying to eat as little as possible, trying to work out as much as possible, and control and shrink my body, get approval from men, approval from women, approval from employers, professors, everything. And then also just trying to be like the perfect, person, student. Like, I viewed my existence as something that contributed to a resume. And so finishing university, it was like I was never eating enough. I was malnourished, overtired, depleted, and my schedule every day was completely full of like classes, clubs, other engagements, involvements, a full-time job. Like, I evaluated myself on how little I ate that day, how small I could be, and how much I could accomplish. And I was running like a train going full speed ahead until I hit a wall, which was COVID, because the gyms closed. We got sent home from school. I got taken out of the environment that facilitated my eating disorders and my terrible dating patterns and my job and my classes, everything that I used to exhaust myself, to shrink myself. It all stopped so suddenly. And I got sent home to my parents' house, thousands of miles away in a tiny town in the middle of like the cold winter season. And I couldn't do any of that. And the people around me weren't doing that either. And I think my mind kept trying for so long to get myself to work out twice a day, to count calories, to find a new job immediately, even when the world was shut down. But my body just collapsed into itself. Like, I was sleeping 12 hours a day. I couldn't control my food anymore. Like, I was eating so much because I had not eaten enough for so long. And it was just like my mind was completely taken over by my body. My mind had been in control for so long, and my body was like, we can't do this anymore. And I eventually had to surrender to that, but it was such a shock, it's as soon as when you're running and you let yourself take a break to walk a little, it's so hard to start running again. That's how it felt, but like 1,000 times harder.
Do you now know, or back then, did you know why you were acting the way you were acting? Why were you trying to keep yourself constantly busy, keep yourself in this shape, be the perfect girl?
I didn't have the understanding or the consciousness back then. I look at it now and it makes perfect sense, right? Like, I can trace it all the way back to my childhood of like learned beliefs of productivity and accomplishments being a major way that I'm good enough, and then the other major way being my body. And with my clients, like, this is so common as well. Like, they are surprised to realize that their perfectionism, their overachieving habits, their overwhelm with never doing enough in their professional life or their personal life is so connected to the body image, because these are just major ways we evaluate ourselves, right? And I just didn't understand that I had learned and was perpetuating these beliefs of like how much I accomplish and how small I can make myself are these ways that I'm trying to control what other people think of me and if I'm safe. If I can be perfect, they won't leave me, essentially. I won't be not good enough. But I didn't understand at the time. I was fully convinced that I was just like the healthy fit friend, that I just found my passion for wellness in my early 20s. And my identity was completely rooted in that. My identity from a young age was also completely rooted in being an overachiever, being a straight A student, like being smart. That was something I'd been told I was for my entire life. You know, my parents figured out from a young age that I did well in school and we didn't have a lot of money. And so they saw my intelligence as a path to safety, you know? And so they encouraged their child, like, do good in school, get into a good college, get a good job, make money so that you're safe. But I took that as like, I have to do all those things in order to be good enough. And then, yeah, in my like younger, my girlhood, that's where I learned that my body was the thing that decided what men and female friends thought of me. And that kind of came later. But yeah, I didn't understand it at the time. I told myself it was like, oh, I'm just a healthy fit girl, and I'm a nerd, like a smart girl. That's just who I am.
Yeah. Now that you look back on it, was it actually wellness, or was it you trying to fix yourself the whole time to make yourself fit and look great for the acceptance of others?
I think it was control. Like, it wasn't even, I told myself it was getting to a certain point, right? Like getting to a goal weight. And then I think on like a slightly subconscious level, it was like, oh yeah, I'll fix myself and I'll get to that point. But the thing with body image, using our bodies as a way to measure our worth, is that it's never enough. And so it was not so much about getting to a certain point, but always being on that ride, like always being like, you can never get off the horse kind of thing. The ride is never over, because you'll fix one part of your body, you'll get to a certain weight, and your brain just immediately shifts to, okay, the next benchmark, lose the next 5 pounds. You can eat 100 calories less today than yesterday because you proved to yourself that you could do it. And I think it's just control. I think that I felt out of control in my life. I didn't know who I was. I didn't have control over my life through being financially well off, for example. I didn't have control by having other privileges. And so I sought control in the only ways I could, which was how much can I achieve and how small can I make myself.
And if you let of that control, what would have happened for you back then?
I believed that if I let go of control of how much I ate, of how much weight I gained, of, giving myself permission to not go to the gym, to say no to things, to set boundaries, to skip things I thought would be good on my resume, I believed that my whole life would fall apart. Like, you skip the gym once, you'll never go back. You let yourself eat enough, you'll gain weight and you'll never stop gaining it. And it was this like mountain ahead of me of like, it'll never end. There's only going down, shrinking yourself forever, or there's going up forever. There was no concept of like, our bodies will naturally gain and lose weight throughout our lives. Like, there was no concept of aging being normal. There was no concept of like, my body naturally wants to rest more in the winter versus the summertime. Like, I had no concept of this being a natural fluctuation. It was so all or nothing. And so I completely believed that I would lose control completely if I didn't maintain it and hold on to it so tightly. Yeah.
Can you recall maybe a particular situations that led to you starting over obsessing or thinking about your weight the whole time and how you looked?
Yeah. I think over the years, I've had to peel back my memories like an onion, like the layers underneath, And I had a conversation with my group coaching the other day. We did a week on reconnecting with your inner child. And so many of them said, like, I can't even remember where I got these beliefs from. Like, I know that my mom has always had body image issues, but I can't even have memories of specific moments when I learned these beliefs about myself, right? And I explained to them, like, over the years, I've slowly been able to unlock more and more. And I can actually go all the way back to maybe being like 7 or 8 and realizing for the first time that other people were perceiving my body as good or bad. And so many memories that helped me make so much sense of everything I've been through, because I can say, like, oh, the belief maybe started in this time of my life, and then this pattern, this friendship, this situation, this environment reaffirmed it over and over again, right? Like every time I got a good grade in school, like at the end of each term, you get a report card. So you get the results of your classes, and this is like at a young age. I would get like $20 if I got straight A's. So like it's literally like reaffirming. You get financial safety if you perform well. And then with my body image, I was bullied a lot when I was in middle school, which is like, I would say like 10 to 14-ish age. And middle school is just like rough. That's the time in our life where we are learning how we relate to the same sex usually, so same-sex relationships. So for me, it was like I was bullied by my girlfriends. We went to a small school, and I see these patterns of like, I went to school in a certain outfit, or like my stomach looking a certain way in a certain pair of pants, for example, and being made fun of. And then that belief of like, I'm being mistreated and rejected because of what my body looks like, being reaffirmed and solidified over and over. And so I think what people have to understand with body image specifically is like, yes, there might be a moment where you became conscious of your own limiting belief, like me becoming conscious that other people were perceiving my body. But our beliefs about our bodies, even like especially the negative ones, they're actually a lot of like teeny tiny moments over years, long before you even realized what you were even thinking about yourself. It comes from, there's studies that show like children ages like 2 or 3, they'll start imitating their parents' behaviors. So if your mom stands in the mirror and pinches her stomach and frowns, then children as young as 2 or 3, they'll just start doing that just because their mom does. And they're subconsciously learning like belly equals frowning, belly equals sad, looking in the mirror equals sad. And it's like, it's just so interesting that I really can see where so much of it comes from now, but I couldn't for such a long time.
The reason being why this conversation is so important personally to me is that I've never openly spoken about it, but I've struggled with body image pretty much my whole life. And I can't recall a particular, this was the day, but I can recall many days in many situations where I would feel insecure about my body. And now that you were sharing a few situations also came back to my memory. I was a dancer as well. And you would have this typical dancer body, you know, they were all thin and I would have more curves. And I remember when, you know, even subconsciously would people do comments that might just stick with you, right? And I remember a situation where our steward, the lady that was doing our costumes, she would be taking the measurements for our dancing costumes, and she would measure my biceps, and she would say, "Oh wow, 33 centimeters," you know. And even though she didn't mean it in a mean way, right? Just her comment of my biceps compared to the ones of the other girls who probably had, I don't know, 5-6 centimeters way less than me, I would be like, is this bad? Is this the biggest one you have? And so one comment, then another comment there, then a picture where you try to look as flat as they were. And the fashion that was going on throughout the 2000s plus, when the low waist was so trendy, and if you had more hips and booty, this would just completely not fit your figure. And me thinking of trying, or I'm just recalling the situations right now, putting the jeans on that were not made for me, and I was trying to fit them and make them work for my body that just doesn't fit in that straight line. And it's all these things that throughout the years, even though I perceive myself as a very confident person, are so deeply engraved in me. And it just I'm so happy that we can have this conversation today, so we can share some more love and positivity, and hopefully some tools of how we can leave all that baggage behind. It's not even ours, and all these stereotypes and unhealthy thoughts that we constantly have in our minds, and give ourselves the love we deserve. So that's why it's so important for me to talk to you today. Walk me, walk me through. COVID came and you realized my world is falling apart. Where did you take it then from there? What was the realization you had that you can't continue this way for yourself?
Yeah, it sounds so crazy, but I remember like my body completely breaking down, essentially, like just being exhausted. I didn't have what I called willpower and discipline at the time, but really I didn't have the resources to maintain such a like survival mode kind of approach to my life anymore, and I was just completely falling apart and breaking down. And I had this realization that, again, looking back now, is so obvious, but our brains are so strong, and so much of such behaviors, wanting to lose weight, restricting ourselves, all of that, it's so normalized that it wasn't obvious at the time, because in college everyone was doing it. But I finally had this realization of like, I have an eating disorder. And I remember being able to even use the words and acknowledge to myself for the first time that that's what it was, like being able to even just say in my mind, not out loud, not to anyone else, but just in a small part of my mind, to say like, I have an eating disorder. That in itself was such a turning point moment, because our brains are so strong. They are doing these things in a messed up way of trying to protect us, right? My eating disorders, my obsession with productivity and achievement, they were trying to protect me from being rejected, alone, abandoned. When something finally breaks through and allows that thought, it's almost like the fight's already over. Like you've let down your guard enough for that thought to come through. And I remember thinking like, if I'm even able to acknowledge this before I've said it out loud, before I've made any changes, I know there's no going back. Which was a relief, because I was so tired. But it was also terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I think one of the big moments that this really clicked for me, that I couldn't do it anymore, is that I actually, in my parents' house, like in the first few weeks of COVID, hit the goal weight, like the number on the scale that I had been chasing, that I had put on like vision boards on my bedroom wall. I had written down, I had tracked in calorie counting apps for years. I finally hit that weight, and I looked in the mirror after, and I just felt nothing but disgust. And then I've told this story a lot, because it's the moment I come back to so often. I remember thinking, like, I have to go make breakfast after this. And that means counting the calories and making sure it fits in my budget and stressing about what I'm eating and feeling guilty about it all day. It wasn't just breakfast, it was all of that. And I remember just feeling so defeated and being like, I have to go eat breakfast after this. Like, I hit the weight, it didn't fix everything. And I still have anything. It didn't fix anything. It actually messed up so much of my life, so much of my health. Like, I'm still healing my digestive system from years of malnourishment. Like, and it's been 5.5 years since I stopped all this. but like the two feelings coexisting of complete relief and absolute terror for what was going to come next was like quite difficult to navigate, because you don't know what the future holds. I hear that from clients a lot. They're like, I'm afraid to do this work on my body image because I know it means releasing behaviors that I know aren't good for me, but I don't know another version of life. And I'm so afraid that, again, the same fear I had, I'll gain weight and it'll never stop. I'll lower my standards for my health and I'll never stop lowering them. I'll completely let myself go. And that's terrifying. Yeah. Absolutely terrifying.
Can you recall, I can imagine that many of the listeners, including me, can relate to any single word you just said, hitting the goal and you still look in the mirror and you're like, how disgusting are you? And it's such a painful sentence to say to ourselves, to this vessel that carries us on every single day. Can you recall, was there a particular step you took after? Did you ask for help, or what was that moment or help or whatever it was for you that helped you to start towards this positive change for yourself?
I'm such a journaler. I love to journal. I had been journaling like every day for years before this, and I actually started sharing on Instagram as if it was a journal. So I had a little personal blog. I started using it as, it had been like a health blog. Like, look, I'm the healthy girl. That's my identity. Here's what I ate today. Here's the workout I did. Look at my weight loss progress. To starting to continue to keep people updated on that journey, but the journey shifting into like, I'm gonna try intuitive eating instead of calorie counting. I'm gonna start trying to listen to my body's hunger and fullness cues again, and here's what that process looks like, because I was totally new. Started sharing more about my feelings, not just what my body looked like, and the step I took was really confronting how I felt through writing. But again, I'm doing this little journaling project on Instagram, so it was also sharing it with others and other people starting to share back. And it was that hearing other people saying, I've been there too, or I've felt the same way, or this is what worked for me, or can you help me with this? Like us starting to have community. I think that was really what changed things for me. And I found that community online because I wasn't comfortable sharing with the people in my real life. But this is one of the big reasons that I'm so into hosting coaching groups now, is because you need other people. Eating disorders are so isolating. They convince you that you are the problem. They convince you that you're the only person that feels this way, and it's shameful that you feel this way. You should be ashamed of what you look like, but you should also be ashamed that you don't love yourself. It's so alone. It's so lonely. Yeah. And so the biggest step I took, to summarize years of my life, is finding others and starting to share and starting that vulnerable conversation so that other people could respond.
I hear you. And at the same time, I think it's so freaking scary to admit to yourself the truth. To admit that you have an eating disorder or you have a problem. To admit that you don't love yourself even though you tell yourself you love yourself. To admit that you are not happy with what you see every single day in the mirror. It's freaking scary place to be. So I think maybe not everybody, for the people who are listening, maybe not everybody needs to go out loud on social media if they don't feel like they have the courage to. But I think journaling could be one step of opening up and being honest with yourself, and maybe writing down the words that come from within. And the more we accept that that's the reality we believe, instead of judging it, just sitting with it and realizing, okay, maybe I can't change it and I shouldn't be changing it and I don't want to be changing it, but just accepting that this is part of me. And I think that's freaking scary as well.
Of course.
But it's the beginning. I strongly believe of a journey towards a better days for us.
I think before we're ready to take action on these things, a lot of times, because they're so vulnerable and they go so deep into our past, we tend to be hard on ourselves for needing to spend a lot of time in just awareness. And I tell all my clients, like, awareness is the first step to any sort of change. You can't make a change if you're not aware that it needs to happen. And awareness is often where we spend most of the time. We often know that we want to change something or we need to change something for a long time before we're actually ready to do it. And something that helped me in that time in my life develop more awareness and also more self-compassion was actually reading a lot of books and listening to a lot of podcasts on the history of women's bodies and beauty standards and what we call diet culture, which is a culture being obsessed with always just shrinking ourselves, the beauty industry. I learned a lot about the Industrial Revolution and the clothing industry, and just like realizing, for example, that long before I was alive, but really not that long ago, that standardized clothing, like small, medium, large, was not even a thing because we didn't mass produce clothes. Everyone had tailor-made, handmade clothes, usually by yourself or someone in your family or someone in your small town. And so there was no, I don't fit into this size is the better size. Everyone had clothes that fit their body, and they also didn't have so much clothing. Like, just learning more factual, logical things like that, learning that when I feel embarrassed to be intimate with a man and I haven't shaved my area, learning that it wasn't normalized for women to shave until I think the Second World War in America, at least American women. I don't know about the rest of the world, but American women received this pressure to shave everywhere, our armpits, our pubic area, our legs, everything, when all the men went to war and they weren't selling razors. And so they changed their marketing to women. Like, it's that simple. It's not because body hair is disgusting and I should be ashamed. It's because somebody else profits off of me feeling this way. And that's something I wanted to say earlier when you were sharing about, like, remembering younger memories. It's not just that you were hypersensitive to your seamstress's comments about your arms. It's that you became more sensitive because you were being raised in a society that told you you should care. We don't care unless someone tells us we should. And often they're telling us that we should because they make money off of that. And so understanding the industries of all of this, I read some really great books, I listened to some really great podcasts, and it didn't require me to actually do anything. I didn't actually have to stop shaving. I didn't actually have to change any other behaviors. But that awareness and that understanding of, like, it's not just me, my body's not the problem, that was really helpful for me in the beginning.
I appreciate that. Do you have any books or podcasts particular that pop in your mind now that changed a lot for you?
Yeah, Anti-Diet by Christy Harrison, who's an eating disorder focused, I think, dietitian. It was actually a gift, that book. My ex-boyfriend's little sister, who was like, gosh, she must have been 16 or 17 at the time, and she just went to the bookstore and was like, I thought you'd like this book, because I just started sharing, like, things like this on social media. She actually talks through, that's how I learned about the clothing industry, women shaving. She has, like, a timeline in the beginning of that book. I think it came out in like 2019 maybe. Amazing. The Body is Not an Apology, and I think Fearing the Black Body. Those two are really great to understanding the racial roots of a lot of body discrimination and understanding that there's actually a lot of racism in shaming larger bodies. And so that's really helpful to understand how loving yourself is not just self-acceptance, it's actually like feminism and advocacy. Those are the ones that come to mind off the top of my head. But I give all of my clients like a 40 book recommendation
love that.
Because I have so many that I've read. But those are some that really, really resonated with me.
Thank you for sharing. I'll definitely look them up, and I would love to get that big list of recommendations as well. You mentioned a few keywords: self-love, self-acceptance, and many others. But before we go in that direction, I want to go back to the topic of eating disorders. How can I, as a potential somebody who noticed certain patterns in my food actions, can I say that I have food problem? What would be the signs for me to look for?
The signs that you might have a problem? I mean, does eating stress you out? Like, do you think about what you ate or what you will eat long before or after you're going to consume it? And is there a lot of overthinking? Maybe we wouldn't label it this way, right? We'd often call it being healthy or just like looking out for ourselves. But to me, having a healed relationship with food, I now know that you don't need to think about what you're going to eat all the time in order to actually make good decisions for yourself. So do you feel like you're overthinking or eating is a stressful decision? Do you feel guilt for eating certain foods? Do you feel shame? Like, it's really just checking in with how your relationship with food makes you feel. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have bad behaviors that need to be changed. It's just maybe showing you that there are some places where you maybe want to change your mindset towards food and maybe some habits or behaviors in the process. But it's, I think the very first step is just checking in. And it's like, I don't know, I think now that I have a better relationship with food, again, it's not a stressful thing, but that was an experience I'd never had before. And so I just, like, to anyone listening who has never experienced that, like, there is a part of your life where your relationship with food can be something that's joyful, not stressful, and just feels like, quote unquote, normal. I think also it's helpful to think about who in your life has a mindset towards food that you admire, and maybe a mindset towards food that doesn't make you feel as good. Like some of my girlfriends in school, they were just as anxious and stressed and restrictive as I was with food, and that maybe wasn't the best thing for me. Versus my father, completely quote unquote normal relationship with food, like loves to cook, loves the joy of creating food, loves the flavor, nourishes himself out of self-respect, like is so grounded. And so seeing what behaviors and mindsets I want to embody versus ones that I maybe don't, because who we surround ourselves with also says a lot and like really impacts us.
Short break. If you enjoyed this conversation, please make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. It means the world to me and it keeps me motivated to keep on showing up and bringing these beautiful ladies on board. Now back to the episode. I appreciate that, Cher, because when I think about food and food disorders, up until a few years ago, I didn't realize I had a problem because my relationship to food in my head and in my eyes was normal, but I knew it was not. So I was telling myself, yeah, that's all good. So in my personal experience, I wouldn't call that I had a severe eating disorder. And I say had because I do believe and know that I have a way better, healthier relationship with food. But I would literally stuff myself full, feel extremely guilty for doing that, promise myself I would never do that again. And I would repeat that, if not the next day, but 2 days later. And I realized that this is a repeating pattern. This is something that reoccurs over and over again in stressful, unhappy situations for me. When I feel lonely, when I feel not great about myself, it will just keep on reoccurring and reoccurring. Yet I didn't name it, I didn't label it. I had the awareness, but I was just pushing it somewhere under the sofa. And it was not until recently, probably around 3 years ago, when I finally got to face myself and I would just see what I would do. So I would have great diet or great just normal habits around food for breakfast, for lunch, and then over dinner, I would just stuff myself. I would order food that it's not the amount of food I would order. They were just not for one person, and I would know consciously that this is too much for me. I don't need all of that, but I wanted it and I couldn't stop up until it was finished. It was actually in Bali 3 years ago when I was lonely in the evenings. I would do that. I even know I would buy the same things. I would buy from the same place, the same things, would go home, would eat it, would know it's too much, and still would tell myself, it's okay, you're feeling this way, or, you're just before your period, or just give myself any of those excuses. And I realized that this is not okay. I realized that what I was doing is I was stuffing my emotions. I was eating my emotions. And it took me quite a long time to face it, to call it as it was, that it's a problem. To be honest with myself and say, Luisa, with all the respect and love, but we can't keep on doing this. This is not normal. And with the time and just accepting that things are gonna be hard, life is not easy, and that I shouldn't. I'm not helping myself. I'm doing more harm to my body than helping it with stuffing it with food. And I could name it, but it took years. I've been doing this for years, for so many years, and I could name it 2-3 years ago and say, I think I have a binge eating problem. I've never been a professional. I've never, did in something particular in that space, but I had the awareness to look up what's going on and call out my problem. And up until then, when I realized what my problem was, I could name it. So I could own it. And I think it fully changed my behavior around food, that I wouldn't say I can't recall doing it much anymore.
Yeah.
But if I do it, then I'm conscious.
Yeah.
It's not this subconscious Luisa taking over my body, doing all the things, and then the conscious Luisa comes and she's like, what did you do? And start judging, which I think made it even worse.
Yeah.
This judgment part is just as bad as the whole stuffing, probably even worse.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds to me like you had an identity shift because, as I shared before, so much of my identity in my younger years was rooted in being the smart, high-achieving girl and the healthy, fit friend. And then as I said out loud for the first time eventually on Instagram, like, I have an eating disorder, that was an identity shift for me. I was making the scary but essential decision to start letting go of being the healthy, fit friend and being the girl that has an eating disorder. And I think that's a lot of like what admitting you want to make a change or you have a problem is. And so like with my clients, when I explain the work that we do, I do like for example, when I do this 12-week program, we have a different topic every week. And a lot of the topics are food, fitness, and body image directly related. But I would say 2/3 of the program is emotional and identity work, because you are shedding a past version of yourself when you choose to heal. And again, that's why it's so scary for so many of us, because we don't know who our new identity is going to be. And so I talk them through like everything from reconnecting to who you were as a child before you cared about any of this, because that is still part of who you are. But also I asked them last week, for example, like, what are your top values? What are your boundaries? Like, what do you care about in this world? How do you show up as a friend, as a partner, as a child, as a mom? Like, understanding how you fit into the world when you're not that version of yourself anymore. It's a redefinition that it requires us to have. And it sounds like you admitted that you wanted to be someone different and someone that had better coping skills. And I'm like gonna get emotional because it's a beautiful thing to happen, but it's also like, it's so emotional and it's so deep. And I really feel that shame you used to feel when you'd have these unconscious patterns. Like, it's really hard to let go a lot of that guilt and shame. But I like to remind, everyone I talk to about this kind of stuff is that it's also okay if some of it's still there, right? I tell my clients, like, you can't shit on yourself for shitting on yourself. But it's really hard, right? Yeah. But yeah, it's a breaking open, which is a beautiful new chapter, but you feel the growing pains too, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Tell me about the growth journey.
Yeah.
It's freaking scary and it's painful. I think, sure, it's very painful to be stuck. It's very painful to be unhappy. But I'm getting, my heart rate is going through the roof now. But facing your truths and saying out loud things that you've never admitted is even more painful. And if you don't mind sharing this,
I've never publicly spoken about any of this ever. And I think I appreciate what you said, because I think I did have an identity shift, and it was around me becoming this healthy sports person. I went into CrossFit. I loved the journey. I got into how to improve my health and sleep, and wanted to be healthier at the core, not to look better. Genuinely, it came as a follow-up. I was feeling happy, and my identity switched to this healthy person who valued health, who valued being healthy. And my diet was not anymore a diet. I stopped caring about whether I eat a salad or whatever. I was eating what I felt is right for me, and was starting to eat normal, not thinking of how I should cut my calories whatsoever. So it turned into I feel myself finally. Last year, let's say I hit my perfect body, and I didn't realize it. I was looking extremely shredded. Six-pack, finally some toned legs. I've always had more curviness around the legs and my arms. And for the first time in my whole life, we're talking I was 27, 28, I look in the mirror and I was like, wow. But I couldn't appreciate it. I saw it, it was there, I was on pictures, I'm like, oh, wow, what's going on here, But I didn't care. I didn't care about my body goal. I was just living healthy. I was happy of what I was doing, just eating as every day, no restrictions at all. And by that, I meant if you wanted a hamburger, we were having that burger. If you wanted brownie, we were having that brownie. And by we, I mean me and my partner, because we would cook a lot at home. And so here I am. I've landed this perfect shape, and I didn't even know that it was there, because now I look back and I'm like, holy shit, this girl, what the hell is going on? But why I see that now is because I'm obviously so far away. I've lost somewhere this health routine, or not the health routine, I would say. I just less exercise, more food. I got a bit chubbier again. I think I've gained since that top shape 5 kg. And I realized that, and I was like, okay, so what are we gonna do to go back to that shape? What are we gonna do to get the fat out, get a bit shredded again, shrink these arms, shrink these legs? So for the last 9 months, probably even more, I've been on the journey again, here we go again, of stressing that body, the shit out of it, to get on the diet or in the good food lifestyle. But I'm tracking, of course. All in the fitness, all into how I sleep, what I do, everything to get it back to that shape that I realized I had and didn't value. So now I'm running towards it. Well, guess what? It's month number 10, 11. I'm so far away of my goal. And it's going the opposite direction. I'm gaining weight constantly. I'm feeling fluffed and puffed and full of whatever. And I've changed my routine, my program now for so many months, constantly trying to tweak and improve. And I was under eating. Then I felt like I was overeating to hit the protein goals. All these things you have to do to get there. And I've been struggling a lot with accepting how I look right now. And I think the biggest moment that hit me was when I had to go back to Europe to visit clients of mine. And I couldn't fit in my clothes that I could wear a few months ago. And I could remember trying to put on the jeans. They wouldn't go anywhere close to where I wanted. And I've been putting all the effort to go back, and it's going against me. And this weekend, as I shared before, I went on a speaker training with Jody, where I hoped and wanted to become a better speaker, to learn how to be a better speaker. But we did a lot of energy work, of personal development work. And we did a lot of exercises. It was safe space. And we went in a circle exercise where we had to share a vulnerable share. And so the exercise was, you use the sentence, I am a person who wants, a vulnerable thing about me is that. And so we went the first circle, I shared something vulnerable. We went the second circle, I shared something completely dissociated, of course, with me, something externally, right? Something around my family, around what's going on. And then the third time, I could feel that just all of this chest area and my throat area, they wanted to say something, but it was so hard to say because I've never said it out loud, or I never realized that, or never let it out. And what came out was that I said that I hate my body. And this fully cracked me open, because for me to say that I hate my body, and I felt so sad. And I still can't, like, the emotions, I can feel my heart and everything. Just, I can't believe that my body, or a part of me, hates me. It hates my body. And I know there's a lot of work that I need to do to make that part feel safe within me. But that's why this conversation with you, and I told you downstairs before we came up that if the events didn't run this way, probably this conversation wouldn't go anything as close as it's going now. But me realizing and saying out loud something as deep as that, I'm like, holy goodness, what do I do with this? It's just such a hard, painful thing. And it just feels like this huge black hole within me. And at the same time, I judge it. It's just such a complex situation right now going on within my body, because there's a part that says that it hates my body, and then it's sad about it, and then at the same time it judges itself, or I judge it. And I wrote it down, and I think this still literally haunts me. I go back to bed when we go to sleep. It hit me that I take care of my body not because I love it, but because I hate it. And this is, I don't even know how to, for somebody who has never suffered from them, they'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But to want so badly to change something, to change yourself, to look in a whatever way, to have this perfect skin and whatsoever, that you do everything for it, not because you love it, but because you hate it. Just so, so, so painful. And when I was checking out your content and the work you do before you came, I was like, I feel like a safe space where this can be shared and it will be understood and it will be held safe. And that's why I feel so vulnerable sharing something, because I don't think that I would ever have the balls to go out and say what I just said. So thank you for being there for me.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I feel like I'm witnessing the change of a century.
It might be.
You're having that moment I had of, like, the first time I said, like, I have an eating disorder. Like, it's just the first time that you actually allow those words to come out and you say them out loud. It's different from journaling. It's different from writing it down on social media. Like, it's using your voice to actually put those thoughts out, and they become real when you do that. And that's why it's so scary, is because, again, there's no turning back. And now you're on a new journey, and again, it's a beautiful journey, but it's scary too. And that's why it's so important to have safe spaces and to have books and podcasts and people that you can learn from and support you. We need that support. But so much of what I'm thinking as you're sharing this is, like, we haven't known each other that long, but, like, I just know you're an incredible person. And, like, I remember, like, hugging you at the event last week at the end, just, like, feeling so safe in your physical touch and our bodies connecting in that way, and just being like, this is a safe person. This is someone that I feel so grateful for you to have these arms to put around me. And in the small amount of time we've known each other, I can just tell that you are so many incredible things. You are safe and intelligent and beautiful in your soul, much less what you look like. Like, it's so crazy how different we see ourselves. But I also think it's so important to have people who can mirror that back to you and see yourself the way that you wish you could, and it is such an emotional conversation to have, because I think this realization also carries a lot of grief of all of the time of your life you've spent feeling this way about yourself, and sadness for all the younger versions of you, the you of the last year, but you when you were 16, and you when you were dancing, and you when you were 8 years old. Like, there's so much grief that we end up feeling. And you said the way that you care for your body is not so much care and compassion, it's not love, it's hate. What is caring for your body out of love look like?
I don't know. I always thought I did things out of love. I pride myself into my self-care routines and blocking days and hours only for me, like no other people's energy, no men's energy. I would just treat myself to days of spa, of hair, of facials, of massages, of breathworks, of meditations, of me going out dancing, and and I would pride myself. Yes, I do that. I do take care of myself. I love myself. But I think that, as I said, it comes from a different, darker place.
Yeah.
It's wanting to be perfect. It's wanting to look shiny. It's wanting to be perceived as this, oh, look at this gorgeous woman, versus I take care of myself because I really love myself.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think I'll have to find out what this looks like now, because it's relatively fresh, so I'm still integrating the whole process, because when I had that hit me, I couldn't stop for hours of crying. It was so big. And I literally told Daniel, because I asked him to come. He's a coach, he can hold the space, and I'm so grateful for him to have a man that can be that you feel so safe around, to hold your energy and be there for you. And I called him and I told him, please come in the lunch break, because I don't feel maybe safe enough with other 10 women here to be crying forever. And at the same time, I just need you. I know you can help me. And so when he came and helped me ground it, he said, talk to that part and tell it you're gonna come back to it. And you're gonna have the cup of tea and the matcha that you need, but you need to it needs to give you the space now to be able to continue with the training, to be able now to go back to your lunch and proceed with the day, because I was just in such a different frequency. My body was trying to catch up on whatever I had just released. It was so freaking big. And the moment I actually seriously spoke to these parts, it was mostly chest and I would say heart area and the throat. And I was like, I hear you, I feel you, I can sense all the energy, the sensations. I promise I'll come back to you, and we can talk about it. It felt way lighter, but now I'll definitely need to find a way to sit again with it and realize why these body parts of me feel the way they feel. And maybe some other body parts will come and join the party and say, hi girl, I also want to share something. But I just think I look at myself in the mirror, and many people, the way as you said, the way others perceive us, I had, before I shared that, I would have women in that circle come to me and say, you look so confident and beautiful, and you kind of intimidated me, so I decided to stay away from you in that room, because their perception of me is completely different, right? And yeah, I need to figure out now how to talk to myself and what I need to do to heal that space and give it the space.
Yeah.
And on the why I actually started sharing these stories, because growth and realizing and facing our truths is way harder. Way harder. And okay, now that's the point I wanted to make. And I told Daniel, my partner, I prefer to go and do 4 CrossFit workouts than sit in this pain.
Yeah.
That's how painful it was. Go make me hike a mountain, lift the weights in the heat or whatever else. I will do that 10,000 times over sitting with this pain that I had to sit with.
Yeah. I know that all too well. I think with the pain, it's that so much of the pain that we're used to is still painful. It's not that it's less painful, it's just that it's more familiar. And so we know how to tolerate it, and we know how to deal with it, and we know how to ignore it. But this new pain is like a new wound, and it's so fresh, and we don't know how to care for it yet. And that is part of what makes it so difficult. But with knowing how to care for yourself out of love, a thing I tell clients a lot is it's not so much the actions you take, it's the intention behind them. And I think there's a lot of nuance here, because I do think that you are a very confident person, even if one part of you is not so confident, right? Like, I'm so confident, but the least confident part of me is like dating. Like, that area of my life, I'm quite insecure and anxious in. I think anxious is a better word, but I'm still a confident person, right? And so it's understanding that identity is complex, right? And not completely losing who we are. But with the intention behind your actions, you don't actually have to change how you care for yourself. I think it's just not even believing yet that you are beautiful and good enough as you are. It's just bringing a little bit more awareness and intention and consciousness to, like, okay, I'm having matcha instead of coffee. Before I was doing it because I need to be perfect and I need to regulate my hormones and all this stuff I learned on Instagram, versus, oh, I feel better when I have matcha instead of coffee, and so I'm going to choose to do that truly for me. I think there's a version of you that is both. I think there's 2 versions we're kind of talking about, many versions, but to simplify it, like, there is the past version of you that was maybe really hard on herself and wanted control and thought she wasn't good enough. And I think there's a really confident Louisa of today who does genuinely love herself. But I think that so much of this discomfort and the identity shift is feeling those pieces clash. And instead of them clashing, it's having that conversation between the two, instead of it feeling like they have to yell at each other and fight. And so it's a consistent checking in with yourself each day. It doesn't have to be this overnight shift, and that can be intimidating because this process takes time. But at the same time, it can be freeing to say, like, I don't have to figure this all out right now. I don't need to know what it looks like. Also, maybe it's the coach in me who has clients that sign up for working on their body image 1 hour a week, like that's their designated time. But I do think that with sitting with this, just like Daniel helped you work through, like, being able to go back to your speaker training and coming back to this conversation when the time is right, I do think that having a designated space, that's what I am for my clients, right? Is once a week, this is the time that I dig into this. And so I can give myself permission to not stress about it the rest of my life. This 1 hour is the time. Maybe your podcast is a place where you have more vulnerable conversations going forward, and you can trust that that's when you're going to have those chats. Maybe you and I just get coffee more often, and you can trust that you can always talk to me about it. But I think it is having a safe space, but then giving yourself permission to not have to be fixing this part of you all the time as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much, and I already feel way lighter than before we started this conversation. But I really want to add some more value from your wisdom and from your experience as well to our listeners. I saw your dream club.
Yes,
What
my
is
dream
it?
girl circle.
Dreams girl
Yeah.
circle, exactly. And I went through the topics you cover each week, and I think there's way more that we need to be focusing on the inside than on the outside. However, what I want to talk about with you is self-care and self-acceptance, and to differentiate the topics a bit between, okay, only because I take care of myself does it mean that I accept myself, what we kind of had here, and some of the other topics you also have in your mentorship or in your group coaching I want to touch on later on. So let's go to self-care. I do believe or think that social media has ruined this term a bit.
Commercialized it, first of all.
Yeah.
It's not face masks and bathtubs.
You literally took the keywords out of my mouth. Like, okay, so I'm going to lay down with my mask and I'm going to do my nails and this is self-care. What does self-care actually truly mean to you?
I think to me, it's meeting my own needs. And that might be hard to someone listening to this, kind of just getting into their body image journey. Again, if you looked at the 12-week programming I have for the Dream Girl Circle, which is my group coaching, like, I think week 2 is like reconnecting to your body's cues. We have a week entirely on setting boundaries and getting reconnected with your needs, because a lot of people listening to this are probably being like, cool, sounds great. I don't even know what my needs are. Yeah. To start really basic, you can go physical, like enough sleep, movement or rest. Both are very beneficial for our bodies, right? Nourishment. If you want to go more, and a safe place to sleep, that's like core needs of every human. If you want to go more emotional, it's like safe relationships, physical touch, mental health care, whatever that looks like to you, and then just understanding, like, what do I need in order to feel mentally, emotionally, and physically stable? Not even great, but more, let's focus on like consistent, and not consistent in the sense of perfection, but like I said, stable. Like, I can walk through my life feeling like I have what I need in order to go to work, to be a good friend, to date or be in a relationship if that's what I'm seeking, like to work on myself. Whatever your priorities are, do you have the resources you need in order to fuel your daily life? And so self-care to me is getting my needs met. Self-care is sometimes going to bed tonight because I'm tired, super tired, like I've had a busy week, for example. Going to bed tonight, let's say it's a Friday, I've got nothing on tomorrow, I can sleep in, and I'm gonna not set an alarm, and I'm gonna let myself get as much sleep as my body needs. Self-care on a different Friday night might be like, okay, I've had a really hectic work week, I have not had the chance to move my body, I'm gonna wake up and go to Pilates at 7 a.m. because I know that I feel really good when I'm able to do that. But this is why I say, like, it's a consistent checking in with yourself, because the answer to what do I need is always going to be changing. Again, it's that intention behind the action. And so self-care commercialized is control and routines and this idea of consistency, which is like no flexibility. It's never changing. It looks a certain way. Whereas true health, in my perspective, mental, emotional, physical, is constantly evolving the same way our bodies will our entire lives. Like, it is different every day, and that's okay. But that's, for example, why one of the topics in the Dream Girl Circle is also self-trust. That's what I have tomorrow morning with the girls of this cohort. We're diving into how to trust your decision making and trust that if you choose Pilates at 7 a.m., that's the right decision for your mental, emotional, and physical health. But if you choose to sleep in until 11:30 in the morning, that's also the right decision. And so self-care is getting your needs met and having the self-trust to believe that you made the decision that's not going to make someone else happy, that's not going to make you perfect on paper, but is actually going to give you the safety and nourishment that you need.
And also, these are amazing, by the way. I would add, from my personal experience, 2 points. Firstly, I used to push myself weekly to hit my workouts just because I had to, whatever this means, in my perspective. And I would, by Thursday, will be so exhausted that I just needed to sleep. I couldn't get out of my bed. And I remember, this is like 3 years ago, when I was doing actively CrossFit, and Daniel would be like, come on, let's go. We need to go. And I'm like, please, I'm so tired. I can't, you know. And also realizing that your body needs more sleep. And so you shouldn't compare, especially with your partner who's a male. This was a big change for me because I was like, yeah, sure, I can push it through. Not gonna even add all the period phases and whatever's going on through our bodies. But up until I got whoop, for example, to prove my point to Daniel and tell him, look, I'm not recovered. I need more sleep because of X, Y, Z. And now he just sneaks out. And if I want to sleep, I sleep, you know, without any judgment, because I used to judge myself as well. Like, why can he get up and you can't? And this was a huge realization for me personally. This is not a competition. I don't want to be you. I don't want to be doing your routine. If that's what you need, go and do it. Because we used to have the same routine. Now we don't have the same routine at all. You know, he would go for a walk, I would go to the gym, or the other way around. I would go to Pilates, whatever. But this 5 days a week CrossFit, this is so done and so far away, because I'm like, this doesn't work anymore for me. That on the one point. And then the other point, especially in this last year, I would pre-book classes for me to make sure that I would get myself out of bed. And some days it was great. It was, I needed that little push. But some days I would just feel myself like, why am I doing this to myself? You know, you need to rest, and you still, only because you've booked it, only because you want to follow through on your plan. But it doesn't align. It just doesn't feel right. And why are you pushing? I think meeting your needs in that sense can be such a huge deal breaker of understanding and tuning in that, oh my goodness, I have a body that speaks to me if I let it speak to me. Yes. Yeah, I know, but it's such a journey, because I feel like for women there's so much freaking pressure to look, to do, to be everything, all of it, and be in a good mood and kind and looking great and careless, and you know, all the things we can think of. So I appreciate those points. How do we turn this self-care now to self-acceptance?
I think they have to coexist. Like, I think self-trust is such a big part of it. Like, and it's, again, these identity shifts. Like, I, for years of my life, was like, I want to be someone who wakes up at 6 a.m. Like, I am going to be that healthy, productive person that wakes up super early. I need 9.5 hours of sleep in order to feel rested. Like, waking up at 6 a.m. requires me to be very consistent, go to bed at a very early time. And I see, that's the thing, is what I've learned over time is I love when I'm awake that early. I love how quiet the world is. Like, I do genuinely love it. And I feel the best when I work out first thing in the morning, and then I can dive into my work, and my afternoons are free. And I need 9.5 hours of sleep. I have a hormonal cycle, like, that changes how much rest I need, how much capability I have, how online my brain feels. Like, this self-acceptance, I think, is understanding that we are ever changing and ever fluctuating. But something you were saying, like, between you and Daniel trying to be on the same routine, is it's not so much a competition between you and him. It sounds to me like a woman trying to keep up with a patriarchal approach to wellness, which is not honoring women's bodies. And this is a whole other conversation, but it's keeping us chronically burnt out and not listening to our bodies, which are different than men's. But we live in a system that is catered to men. It's catered to their energetic levels. The 9 to 5, for example, is based on a male hormonal cycle, because men have a daily hormonal fluctuation and women have a monthly one, to vastly summarize. And so I think a lot of that self-trust is not just coming from like, I trust who I am and how I walk through my life. It's understanding like, I trust myself to go against the entire system I was raised in as a woman, which is not designed for me to thrive. And that's why those books and those podcasts where we learn about these things, they help so much, because they give us the evidence that we can trust ourselves and we can make our own decisions. But self-acceptance and self-care, for me, they really cross in understanding like what I was taught this is going to look like and what it's actually going to look like for me are two different things. And I trust myself to find, through trial and error, through learning and experience, my unique version of that. Another thing I wanted to say is that you telling this story about how you used to go to CrossFit, you used to pre-book your workouts, you used to do all of that in a very like structured, controlled, almost quote unquote masculine way, and now you're not doing that as much anymore. That's you figuring out how to care for yourself from a place of love. You're already doing it. And so when it feels like we're looking ahead and we have no idea what's coming, I hear this from clients all the time. They're like, I'm terrified. What if I don't figure it out? I talk them through on the first call every time. A very fancy name, what I call the past, present, future approach, which is me helping them understand we're going to work with the future, but we're also going to work a lot with the past in our work to start building that self-trust. The conversation I'll have tomorrow on self-trust and self-compassion and self-love is understanding, like, how are you already showing up for yourself? Where have you already come from? Where have you already made progress in this journey? Because I guarantee there's evidence that you're already making it work. Like someone listening to this, you're listening to this podcast right now. You're having this conversation, even if it's something you're listening to and not participating in. I'm sure there was a time where you didn't listen to podcasts at all. And you definitely didn't listen to podcasts that actually allowed you to love and accept yourself more. Like that, you are doing the growth right now, and you've been doing it without realizing it. And so I think that is a lot of the self-acceptance is the self-trust and looking back on where you've already come from, so that you can accept who you're going to be in the future and who you are right now. Because that the present so often feels like this middle ground where we don't have it all figured out. But I think it's always going to feel that way to a degree if we have that mindset.
I love that. I love every single point you say. However, there's one thing that pops up in my mind. Self-acceptance, in my perception, besides what you said, is accepting as I am and loving myself for that. However, what I kind of have struggles with is the self-acceptance where we are talking about people who are, how should I express it to not say something that's too rude, that are obese, or women in particular that are obese and obviously unhealthy, accepting themselves as they are, but not doing anything that would promote them to be longer healthier and more sustainable. So for me, this is a negative self-acceptance, or I don't know even how to phrase it. But I have a problem with women out there saying all you have to do is self-love, self-acceptance, you're amazing as you are, because I genuinely don't buy that. If you are obese and you are gonna have problems, if not now, later in your stage of in any stage of your life, that's not enough. Self-acceptance wouldn't be enough, because you're obviously gonna have health problems. So I really don't admire that positiveness, body positivity. I'm pro women, I'm pro bodies, I'm pro us having more of those conversations, but I'm not pro unhealthy. Where do you stand on that? Because you're obviously looking gorgeous, but you're not anyway close to being extremely obese or unhealthy. What are your thoughts around this now new body positivity trend that promotes, for, as I said, in my personal opinion, unhealthiness?
Yeah. I have so many thoughts.
Go for it, girl.
I'll start with a book recommendation.
Yes, please.
So I believe it's Aubrey Gordon. You Just Need to Lose Weight. And 19 other myths about fat people. Don't quote me exactly on the title, but I know it starts with you just need to lose weight. And she goes through all of these kinds of conversations to understand the nuance of how the world actually works in this respect. And she is someone who's been technically obese her entire life. And she's actually got an amazing documentary on her, like her life and her experience as a person in a much bigger body as well. But that's an amazing book that brings science, evidence, and nuance to help us understand how much of this perspective is affected by essentially like marketing and propaganda as well. Because again, the way that we see the world so often when it comes to what our bodies should look like is not rooted in actual health and wellness. It's rooted in us being marketed something, right? Like being told that being obese is always horrible for your health is not necessarily proven by science. Like disconnecting obesity and health, I think, is just the number one thing that has to happen to understand this better, because there are people who are not obese and unhealthy. There are a lot of obese people who have good health, mentally, physically, spiritually. And that is probably hard to conceptualize, right?
I'm just not gonna
interfere
because
so just trust me on it, read the book, and then you're gonna have to trust me on that one, but there is a lot of science and evidence behind it, and that's a whole other conversation. But I think, let me just bring it into a personal perspective. I have been bigger and smaller than I am now, and I have been healthier and less healthy than I am now. However, I was not necessarily more healthy when I was smaller, and I wasn't necessarily less healthy when I was bigger. And it's not so much like, oh yeah, I was super fit when I had an eating disorder, but my mind was all messed up. Like, no, my physical health when I had an eating disorder was terrible, but I was smaller, right? When I went through recovery, I gained a lot of weight in a matter of like a year, and I was technically obese. However, my physical health, I was nourished again. I was actually sleeping. I wasn't chronically dehydrated. Like, I wasn't getting injured doing sports because I was actually taking rest days. Like, I was so much healthier. Another example is about 2 years ago, I had about a year of severe chronic illness, and I lost a lot of weight in that time because I was literally like bedridden. I like couldn't get out of bed. And it was the worst physical health I've ever had, like problems doctors couldn't solve. But I was smaller than I am now. And that messed with my head and messed with my body image as well. As far as, let's say, people on social media being obese and saying just love and accept yourself, I think that they are the most extreme end. I definitely think there are people who are obese and are physically and mentally unhealthy. However, I think that feeling ashamed of what your body looks like does not help you get any healthier. And a lot of people would disagree with me. They'll say, oh, it motivates you to get to the gym. However, we end up in this situation where we're going to CrossFit 5 days a week and looking shredded and still not loving ourselves. Like, you can get to that physical point, but you are not even emotionally feeling healthy and good. And it's such a nuanced conversation. But I think that I am grateful for the people of all body types and sizes and skin colors for their body positivity message, because they are reaching someone else who needs to unlearn the shame that is stopping them from taking care of themselves. It's stopping them, yes, from maybe going to therapy or doing the personal growth and healing and being healthy emotionally, but also shame keeps you stuck in bed. It keeps you stuck in your habits. It keeps you thinking, well, I'm already fat. I'll be this way forever. There's no point in working on myself. And so if those people can help another person release shame so that that person can show up for themselves mentally, physically, spiritually, in whatever way is right for them, I think that's a really positive force. Because I've heard for years, again, when I can't do kilos and I don't weigh myself, I was probably 25 kilos heavier than I am now. almost, I would say, like, probably more than 200 pounds. I don't know how many that is in kilos, but at that time and at the weight that I am now and when I was smaller, I've heard from people, your body looks like mine. That makes me love myself a little bit more. And because I love myself a little bit more, I can have a better life. I can have a healthier life. I can have a happier life. And so I think that really it comes down to representation and unlearning shame.
Yeah.
I hope that everyone, regardless of their size, finds the genuine self-love that is taking good physical care of yourself. But I do think that it's a more positive thing than a negative thing, personally, being in the body image space for so long. One other thing is that I think, I don't know, I guess just, I don't care what other people are doing with their life because I'm really happy with how I'm doing my life. But if I catch myself having a strong opinion like this on others, I think it usually reveals an insecurity in ourselves.
Something within ourselves, of course.
And so let me ask you, like, are you afraid to gain weight? Are you afraid to be obese?
Yeah, so let me get right back to you. I appreciate your answer, and I stand behind it 1000% as well, and I agree with what you say. I would say my opinion comes from the perspective of the really obese, unhealthy women out there that obviously are overweight, and we're talking not 100 or 200 pounds, we're talking like very, very heavy, that barely can move around and can't exercise because they're that obese. And obviously, as a celebrity, she's probably the most famous example, Lizzo. Now she's getting in shape and working on herself. But when she came on stage and started becoming more popular and popular, I don't perceive her, regardless of her shape, that it doesn't bother me when I see it. It's just the message behind of, yeah, I am great and I'm healthy and whatsoever. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it because you can see that this amount of weight on the bones, only from, the whole structure of the body and caring and for her endurance and performances and so on. I'm sure she was fine with who she was, but if she truly was, she wouldn't have gone also on the weight journey. My point is, when we have this extremity and it's only about body positivity and not movement is great for you. Good food is great for you. I think that's what I see is the problem. Accept yourself as you are and don't change anything about it. And as I say, it's not about the change, but it's loving your body and caring for your body from a place of, okay, so maybe I don't want to lose weight. I don't want to be skinny. I don't want to be ripped. I don't want to be whatsoever, but I want to be healthy. I want to be able to climb the stairs. I want to have joints that will support me for longevity. Because I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the main thing that represents your longevity besides your heart is the amount of muscle you have on your legs, whether for how long they can carry you. So you can bend.
I've got amazing quads.
Yes, I hear you, girl, on that part. For how long you can, go down, squat, get up,
of course.
Climb stairs.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more from that perspective of, just do nothing and love yourself, which is to the next extremity.
Yeah.
So it was more towards that, because I do know you stayed for movement that aligns with your body, not whatever you're told. You should go to CrossFit or to the gym or Pilates or to movement that aligns with you. So I do believe genuinely that if you love and care about yourself, you wouldn't necessarily just find your role model that's unhealthy and stick with them.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm afraid to gain weight.
Yeah.
Your question, of course I am.
It's such a nuanced topic.
Yeah.
Like, again, we could do a years long podcast on that. I think it's important to consider all aspects of it, like our own internal fears, programming, the society we were raised in, the science, which is so complicated. All aspects of it, right? And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think that if we go back to this self-care, like, again, it's an individual journey. And so it's that self-trust of like, okay, maybe that is what they believe is right for them. and it has nothing to do with me. And so I understand it like in the context of like how it affects the greater dialogue on wellness, but I think, I don't know, maybe there's a bigger problem than very obese people saying don't take care of your health. I think there's a bigger problem of like very skinny people saying neglect your health in pursuit of being skinny. Like, I think that is a very normalized problem.
Probably I'm so used to seeing more of that than when somebody who's out of,
because to be honest,
perceptions,
I don't think that there's that many people proportionally who are on social media extremely obese, truly completely neglecting their health and saying do what I do. I think there's millions of usually young, white, very small, malnourished women saying, here's how I only eat 800 calories in a day. Here's how I have
800.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Here's how I water fast just to drop the water weight, you know? Just like here's how I do everything in order to shrink myself. But I think that epidemic is so normalized that we don't even realize how harmful that is. And so, yeah, it's really, really, it's a really intense, like, complex conversation.
I hear you. Maybe I'm one bit brainwashed on that part as well, because if you open my Instagram and you go to my explore page, you're only gonna see shredded women with their abs and ass and whatsoever. And by the way, I don't know how they achieve it. Seriously, I just sit there and wonder, and I'm like, these women, what the fuck do they do to get there?
I mean, how long have you lived in Bali?
It's been now almost a year or 10 months.
Okay, yeah.
But I've lived here before.
Yeah. So I think since I came here, which is like everyone here is so beautiful, so tan,
that's
so
true.
fit.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
so many people are influencers, so many people are fitness people of some form. The amount of things I've learned about how they maintain it, how they do it, is mind-blowing. Everything from going to like my gym down the street and seeing fitness influencers. Even my best friend has done like photo shoots for fitness like apparel, and she's got an amazing bum, but she's like, oh yeah, they put pads in my shorts to make my butt look bigger. Like, but it looks so natural, you'd never know. Like, there are fitness influencers that I know in real life who have millions of followers, who for years have had the reputation of being like the glutes girl, and their ass is padding, or their ass is BBL. Like, there's so much like artificial enhancement. There's so much that we don't see through the screen. And then there's the whole other conversation of like actual, like maybe their body does look like that and they have horrible body image. Like, some of my clients over the years have been the epitome of beauty standards, and they still don't like themselves. Like, they tell me it's a nightmare to maintain. There's this amazing quote that's like, your dream body shouldn't be a nightmare to maintain. It's not your dream body if it's a nightmare to maintain. And living here in Bali, like seeing influencers, seeing so many photo shoots, like content production, everything from AI to Photoshop to those butt pads to how normalized it is to have like breast enhancements here, which power to you, but we live in like the real life Instagram in Bali, I feel. That's like
true.
And so you see it, like what your explore page looks like is what people here look like, and you see how
that's so true,
inauthentic, or just like, I don't want to say unnatural in a negative way, but just like unnatural in the sense of like not how you were born. There's so much unnatural but unacknowledged.
Yeah, that's what I usually say is like, if you have self-image issues and come here, they're either gonna break you or make you, because I can imagine that if you really have struggle with your body and how you see yourself, and you want to change something, and you go to the gym and everybody's ripped
in a matching set, and they're
don't
tan,
even get me started,
and their hair's perfect.
And honestly, I am somebody who really loves women, and when I see a woman, I always go and tell them how beautiful they are. But sometimes I go to, especially these Russian-led studios. I went for a stretching session, a top stretching. I don't know if you've ever been there. And I'm in a room full of Russians. all the hair is done properly,
Yes.
properly
Yes.
gelled. And I'm like this messy bun,
Yeah.
right? With obviously not my matching clothes from my gym times. And their boobs are perfect. These legs are soft and smooth, and these eyes and the lips and everything. I'm like, okay, so I usually don't have that problem of feeling like shit and ugly. Goodness.
Yeah.
And I would look at her and I'm like, how are you even real? Like, what's going on? And of course, there was a lip, there was a boob, there was something else done, but that's not what my brain thinks, right?
Yeah.
My brain thinks like, how is she so perfect? And look at you there. And then you sit,
Yeah.
the cellulite comes from the sides, the belly row comes on top, and then there's a jiggle and a wiggle, and I'm like, I don't know if this helps me
Yeah.
or literally breaks me even more, because you look in the
Yeah.
mirror and you start judging even more. Why can't I be like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking hard.
Yeah.
So I stopped going there.
No more top stretch.
No, well,
yeah.
is this healthy? No, it doesn't do me good. I
This-
look at them and I'm
yeah.
like, why, Mom? You gave me the jiggly skin and the white see-through cellulite skin. Like, why didn't you give me that? So I start judging it,
Yeah.
and it doesn't do me good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
I've been in so many of those same rooms, and I don't know about you, but you can feel that the energy also like often isn't good, because, and I don't want to sound harsh saying this, but like I personally don't believe that people that make severe augmentations to their appearance or have such severe habits to maintain their body, I don't believe that it's often rooted in self-love. And so when you walk into a room of people who are really comfortable with themselves, you feel like it's a hug. It feels warm and comfortable, and you're more yourself.
Yeah.
When you walk into a room where people don't feel that way, which often in Bali is like about their bodies, it feels cold. It makes you in your head more, and so it feels unwelcoming. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel so
1000%.
accepting and safe.
Yeah.
And so something I've thought about since I moved here, 'cause it's been 3 years for me, and I was in a much bigger body when I first came here, and I was brand new. Like, being new in a place is also just very like makes you overthink yourself. I really started to focus not so much on what I look like compared to them. It's like, what energy do I bring to this space? I run a women's circle here, free women's circle, every
Which
other
one is
week
it?
in Uluwatu.
Ah.
Yeah, I drive down there every 2 weeks just to host the women's circle, and then I
Why,
drive
we don't
back.
deserve you here in Django?
I need to start one here. That's a
Okay.
project for I have so many projects. Project for the new year. I do really want to start one here. I think it's really needed. But there's one of the regulars that comes. She's maybe 25 years older than me. I love her. She's so different from me. She's so funny, but I love seeing her every time I get there to host, and she's waiting outside. I'm so happy. And she said something to me that made me realize that this is how I act. I came in, I hadn't seen her in 2 weeks, and I was like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. I love the dress you're wearing. And she said to me, she was like, you always give me a compliment as soon as you see me. And I realized I do that, like, and I genuinely mean them, but I just started trying to be the energy I wanted to feel instead of
hear you.
looking the way I thought I should
Yeah.
look. And yeah, sure, maybe I'm the least quote unquote beautiful in that room as far as beauty standards go, but I'm the warmest and the friendliest, and I give the most compliments, and I show up the most in alignment with who I want to be in the world.
Yeah.
And that makes me realize that I'm more than my body too, because I'm proud of who I am outside of it and inside.
I resonate with that so much, because first of all, I love giving compliments in general, and especially when I mean it, I always am like, I really need to tell her. I would go the extra mile to tell somebody that I love something about them. And I think we're so not used as women to do each other and give each other compliments. And so on the weekend, I went to the one girl, and I'm like, wow, you're so beautiful. She's like, oh, the reaction was, do you really mean it? I'm like, yeah, I really mean it.
Yeah.
Or Jodie is what Jodie, right? Yeah. She came down to me, and I was obviously a bit upset, and I just saw this angel face, like this beautiful face and this warm brown eyes. I'm like, you're so pretty. So I'm literally crying because they tell me or something what's going on. I'm like, you're so pretty, Jody. She's like, how is this about me? And I think it's just so healthy when you see somebody who eventually is a woman might activate you instead of allowing a jealous thought or some kind of negative talk. Why is that? To compliment what you actually got jealous around.
Yeah.
And it heals. It heals for me as well. When I see somebody, I'm like, oh my God, you're here. Oh my God, your dress. Oh my God, this, and it helps me obviously to build the path to them as well and make myself also a bit accessible because I can't come across as very arrogant or confident or whatsoever. So this is how I build the bridge, and then I feel more comfortable to come back to me and say, I actually thought this about you or that about you. So I think that's a very beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I think what you're talking about as well is comparison, which is one of the biggest things that I hear from clients. Actually, the number one thing I hear from new clients is I compare myself to people on social media. It's not even in real life anymore, but it is so often in real life too, right? And I think when you do that and you actually, instead of feeling isolated from a person who you compare yourself to, when you push through that and you bridge a connection,
that's it.
You humanize them. And you'll so often hear from people that you think are so beautiful, because beauty is also completely subjective. Like, we're talking about beautiful people, and the people listening to this are all going to have different versions of what that looks like in their mind. But we think it's like the image of beauty, right? But you'll so often hear from someone that you think is so beautiful, like, oh, I thought I looked like shit today. Or like, oh no, I don't believe that about myself. And this is how I realized, it sounds so silly, that the most beautiful girls in the world also have bad body image very often. It's not that they all do, it's not that we all do, but like that being and looking a certain way does not fix that or change that. And to realize that, like, oh, number one, even if I looked that way, I might still feel the way I do about myself. So it's really not about my appearance. And also, these people are not my enemy. Like, they're not my competition. And comparison is something we have to forgive ourselves for, because I think that it is so biological, like it's so evolutionary. We are trying to understand, as a social species, we survive by being part of the group, right? If we are not part of the group, we're going to die. That is evolution. So our brain is trying to understand, where do I rank? Am I above or below this person? And therefore, where do I rank in the room? Where do I rank in society? Am I safe? Am I going to be at the bottom, and am I going to not get my needs met, and am I going to die in the woods? Or am I safe? Am I going to be part of the group, because we need each other to survive? And so comparison is something that we shame ourselves for, that we feel bad for. But to understand that it's actually something we do to try to keep ourselves safe, to then use a different coping tool, which is connection, especially with the person you're comparing yourself to. You find that safety you're looking for through comparison, but in a way that is so much more authentic, so much safer, and so much more fulfilling and happy and good.
So on point. One of my new things is the person in the room that I'm feeling more judgy towards, or I'm like, I don't like them. I try to go now to them and speak to them, because usually there's a reason, obviously, why something's triggering or activating us, whether it's something we see within ourselves or completely the opposite. But as I told you in the circle this week, there was this lady that she turned to me and she said, I felt, when I saw you, I felt so intimidated by you. Because you're so beautiful. So I automatically didn't want to be anywhere around you. So to say, she would be in the totally opposite side of the room just to avoid that intimidation. And later on, I think even next day, or I don't know, way later on, I told her, thank you for sharing. I really appreciate your comment. She was like, it was a new one. I haven't had it for a while. My teenage girl coming out like, she's from the cool girls and I'm not, so many stories we tell ourselves, and they often don't make sense, but we need to accept them and make the most out of them. Let me have oh my goodness, the time is flying. I wanna talk about so many things with you. I wanna get a bit personal, Sarah. First of all, I love your content. I love when Daniel came back from the workshop and showed me and told me, I'm like, how is she sitting there with her belly and cellulite out and he's not freaking out? Like, this would be my worst nightmare. So you're never gonna probably see a picture of me like that. So mad respect for what you do. I know you've helped hundreds, maybe now thousands of women to accept themselves, to love themselves, to change what they felt the urge to change. So I want to thank you for that as well, that you're doing the work that we so much need. Because I think that consciously or subconsciously, probably every woman has a body image or something around that problem. 5 personal questions before we wrap up this beautiful, beautiful conversation. And I cannot wait to have a follow-up maybe any day soon. I wrap up always with 5 questions to all my guests. And the first one is, what is the boldest move you've made that very rarely gets acknowledged?
Rarely gets acknowledged. I think gaining weight, to be honest. Like, it's not so much like the body acceptance and how I talk about it, but it's the actual allowing my body to be bigger and have to walk through my life every day, be around other people who I know are going to see me differently. I think the actual allowing my body to gain weight and be in a bigger body and still show up in my life, to actually still be myself, not just stay home. I think it's an assumption, but it doesn't get acknowledged a lot.
Are you now in your bigger body?
No, I'm somewhere in the middle, but I've been really steady for a while. But like, I mean, this is a whole other conversation, but like, depending on where I am in the world and for how long, my body changes. Like when I'm in America, I gain weight. And when I'm here, I lose weight. And if I'm in Europe, somewhere in between, I go through phases of, I love to move my body, but in so many ways. I go through yoga phases, and I maybe be like somewhere in the middle. I go through Muay Thai, like kickboxing phases, and I'm like usually a lot, not a lot smaller, but I'm noticeably smaller. I'll go through periods of rest and heavy work, and I'll be bigger. And so I'm always fluctuating a little bit, as we all are through seasons of life, but been somewhere in the middle between eating disorder and my biggest, but very steady for probably 2 years now, maybe 2.5.
But I appreciate you saying that. You said it in the beginning of our conversation, that it's normal to fluctuate. Like, what do we expect? We're always going to be either in our worst shape or in our best shape. There's no such thing. We go through different phases. Stress, work, motherhood, pregnancy, whatsoever. It's normal, and we should accept it.
I think a lot of the self-acceptance too is like, it's okay if the reason that you're in a bigger body is because you're unhealthy. Like, as someone with chronic illness, I was actually unhealthy because I couldn't exercise, but also because I had health problems. And like, accepting that you're good enough, even when you're not trying to be better, that's really hard too. But self-acceptance is recognizing that you are still going to be good enough in the periods of your life where you don't go to the gym for a year or 2 years. And that might sound crazy to us because we really want to be well.
I'm already getting on.
Yep.
What?
Yep. But there might, like, I have a lot of clients who go through grief. They don't have the strength mentally or physically to go to the gym when they're grieving the loss of their husband, their mother, like someone close to them. You're going to go through grief. You're going to go through times where you're nasty and angry at the world because you've lost someone. You're going to go through times where you're not physically as healthy, and you'll still be good enough. Just because you are, even when we're not constantly, like, you're not going to take good care of yourself sometimes, and that's also okay.
But at the same time, meeting your needs won't be to go to the gym.
No, your needs are to grieve.
To be there for yourself, with yourself. And I've given this example in another episodes, but I was so focused on losing weight a few years ago. I would tune in the diet, of course. I would work out, gym, tennis, cut sugar, I've never had that. When I was younger, I used to love sugar lots more. But cut sugar, cut any drinks, alcohol, Girl, I was not moving a single gram, right? I moved to Paris for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Gym, no membership. Tennis, goodbye.
Yeah.
And I lost, I think, 7 kg or something,
Yeah.
or 6 kg. Eating
Yeah.
croissants,
Yep.
eating baguettes,
Yep.
cheese, and like diet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I lost 6 kg. It looked amazing because I was happy.
Yeah.
I was just happy. I was in a new
Yeah.
environment that made me feel good about myself. It was not depressing me, and I was not putting all the focus on my body.
Yeah.
It was not about get shredded.
Yeah.
No, it was, you know what? I've given up that part, and that's when
Yeah.
it happened. And I feel like now I'm back to this stage again. So after 9-10 months of me pushing the out of my body, I'm so done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you know what, boy?
Mm-hmm.
Just do whatever you want. If you don't want to move, then don't move. If you want to go for a walk, go for a walk. If you want to eat that pizza, eat that pizza. I am tired of pushing you.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving me all the signals, and I've ignored them for 9 straight months.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that you don't have a scale. I weigh myself every single day. Every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I can judge it.
It's so interesting when you stop because you don't have that number to measure your health by anymore, and you have to measure it by all of those other stats, right?
Yeah.
Like how you're sleeping, how you feel emotionally, if you're moving your body, like how it actually feels to move your body, not what the outcome of it is on the scale. I don't think I've weighed myself in 5.5 years.
Really?
But I found out my weight for the first time almost 2 years ago, and it actually didn't like impact me because I was finally ready. But I went to the doctor here, and I was like, "Hey, please don't tell me.
Yeah.
Please don't tell me I don't weigh myself." They're like, "Okay, miss." And they don't understand why I'm asking this,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then they just yell it to each other in front of me, and I'm like, "Well, okay, I guess I'm this many kilos."
Yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah. I have another client who just told me we had a boundary setting week last week in the program, and I asked them, like, are you setting boundaries with another person, with yourself, or with a thing? So a thing might be like your phone or your work, or hers was her scale. And she said the boundary I need to set more than anything is with me weighing myself every day. And the whole conversation that I'll catch up on today in the group chat was about weighing themselves and their relationship with the scale. So it's so beautiful to have people to talk about that with.
I'm kind of excited to go back home to Bulgaria. I know there's no scale I can use. So I can just eat the delicious homemade food and enjoy myself, not giving a damn. About your community, by the way, I've looked it up. I might join you at some stage. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be directly. I know you're launching a new circle in January 26th. So, by the way, girlies, apply. Now is your time. If you want to start the year with finally some body positivity.
Yeah, and I've got times for people all over the world. 2 different
I
cohorts
saw that.
we can host
I think
everyone.
that's very, very great. I don't know if it's going to be that January because I already signed up for another program in the public speaking realm, but
the right time will come.
Yeah, I was looking and I was like, she's talking to me, baby. I don't know what I find even worse is that many people would see me and see my body and would say, what the fuck are you talking about? You're looking gorgeous, right? Oh, look at the up there and look at the bum and look at that. And I'm like, you can't get it. And you won't. And that's totally fine. And it's not about them. It's not about what we hear externally. If we don't carry it, you know, if we don't carry the love, it doesn't matter what you tell me. I see you as this gorgeous person. If you don't believe it, does it matter?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. The group I have right now is 11 plus me. And the age range is 26, which is actually, like, I usually have ones younger, but 26 to 54. So a big age range. 54-year-old has 4 children. 26-year-old is like in her first big girl job, completely different lives. And a bunch of ages in between. People from 3 different countries, because this is my US-based cohort, but I've got US, UK, and Australia in this one. Different races, completely different appearances, whole spectrum of different weights, teeny tiny girls and girls in bigger bodies, women. We're all grown ups. Girls. So much diversity all over the map. And for them, they're every week they're saying things like, it is so good to hear from you guys that I'm not alone in this feeling, in this experience. It's so validating. It's essential to the healing to be validated in the fact that your feelings are validated and you're not alone in it, and it's not your body that's the problem, because you're hearing from other people who look completely different, who look the way you want to look, who have lived completely different lives, are totally different ages, grew up in different generations, in different countries. I feel the same way. And that is, I could go on and on about that, but that's why the healing in community, it's conversations like this that give you so much insight, you know?
I heard that this weekend we heal in relationships. You know,
we do.
That's how the real healing is happening. The processing, sharing this. I genuinely already feel like lighter. From sharing that with you. You know. And honestly, I don't know if I can go to my friends and tell them the way I told it to you, just because they know a completely different person. They might even think, what the hell is she talking about? You know? Especially if they can't relate, even though I'm sure many of them can. But it's still just different, and having that community aspect is so important. And I was reading your testimonials, and that's what many of the girls say, having that community where you're heard, you're understood. So I love what you do.
Thank you.
Maybe
I love what I do so much.
I know. You can tell. You can tell. Back to my questions,
Okay,
girl. Otherwise, this podcast
two,
never going to end. What are you most proud of in your life?
You know this about me already, but my sensitivity and my vulnerability, I think it is one of the most courageous things people can do, to be vocal about being imperfect. And being sensitive is something that I was shamed for my entire childhood. I was always told, you're being too sensitive. I don't know how many times I heard those words exactly in that way, usually from my father. You're being too sensitive. Thousands of times. That belief repeated to me over and over and over again until it was rock solid. And I completely broke it down through everything we've talked about today, through my own healing. And everything I do, you being able to sit here and say the things you've said, and it's changing your life in the moment right now as we record this, that you've said these things out loud. You can do those things because of my ability to be sensitive and vulnerable first. And I free so many people simply by being my imperfect self and being honest about the things that are hard, the things I haven't figured out yet, and the lessons I've learned. It's incredible because we can all be that person for someone.
I love that. I love that so much. What matters the most to you right now? Spicy girl, I told you.
I'm like, okay, what's the scripted answer and what's the honest answer?
Let's go for the honest one, please.
Yeah. Well, my first impulse is to be like having a positive impact in the world, and my family and my friends and helping people, and those are all true.
Yeah.
But what matters most to maybe the more insecure side of me, again, we have all these different versions of our identity and they're all us. What matters to the more insecure side of me is I really this is complicated. It's the insecure part of me. It's also a very healed part of me, and they are in a constant conversation talking to each other about this. It matters so much to me right now to heal my relationship with men, heal my relationship with my body and how men have hurt that, and find my person. I am fully in my husband era. And so many people will say love your singleness, don't chase finding a relationship. And I completely agree. But I'm just in a part of my life where I am ready for healthy partnership. And I am so excited. But that's also a really emotional piece. Because like I shared, dating is probably the area of my life where I am the least confident because it's something I haven't done in a couple of years. And something I haven't done is this version of myself. But I've also changed and healed so much in that time. And so there's this really confident version of me. And then the younger version who's less confident, more insecure. And they're both coming out in this journey. But I am calling in a husband.
Wait, where's my husband?
Seriously, I told you this at the event too. I was like, I'm ready for it. I wrote December 1st, 2024. I wrote in my journal, where do I want to be in 1 year? And I reread that the other day because it's been about a year. And I said things like, I want to be more financially stable. I want to be happier. And I was very happy, but I wanted to be happier, living a more authentic life, traveling more, networking more, hosting more events, more amazing people in my life, more. And I checked off everything that I wanted a year ago, except for an amazing partner I'm building something with. And so I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
I am going to focus on all of the amazing parts of my life and not the one thing I'm still wanting. It will come when the time is right. But I'm like, I already did everything else. Like, that has to be next.
Yeah. But I appreciate you sharing that. And it takes vulnerability too, to be honest with yourself as well and what you crave and that you're ready for it as well. And accepting and expressing it out loud and saying, I've been hurt and I don't feel 100% confident or X amount of percent. It's also a beautiful thing because I think it will attract the right man for you. When you peel off the mask, that's when we can look for that husband that's suitable and not just another mismatched, unaligned partner for you. So I love that you share it out loud because it can give courage to other women to accept the things as they are and not want to pretend and put the layers and layers of how to be more perfect, more of this. And just be okay. I'm not secure about that part of myself. I've been hurt, but I'm open and I want. It's gonna come. We're manifesting. I'm gonna put the "Where's my husband" song around this.
Well, you and I are here because of my husband hunt. Like, I have my strategy is to just make more amazing male friends. And so an amazing male friend brought me to the presentation where I met your partner, and your partner's this amazing male friend that's a new friend to me who I think is wonderful, and I'm so excited to know better. And then because of that, I now know you, and I've done this Give It All speaking event, like, because of my husband hunt. But my husband hunt being, I call it the husband hunt because it's funny, but bringing healthy, safe men into my life, just period. And actually focusing on friendship and trusting that being friends with good, safe men is A, healing my relationship with men, my belief that men are dangerous and bad, but B, going to bring more amazing men into my life. And it's so exciting. But it's also like trying to be chosen used to be such a limiting part of my life. And now my choice to be open to dating and romance and love and say, I want this, is actually bringing me new friendships, podcast interviews, speaking events, like personal growth, opportunities that I didn't even see before. And it's actually an expansive part of my life now, which is crazy.
I love that. By the way, you're happy to hang out with my partner any day and any time.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
He's awesome. Oh, I love that. I cannot wait for what's coming up for you. Also in the personal aspect of life, of course, next year. Excited.
We'll see.
I see that the laptop has low battery, so directly squeezing in the last question, even though I don't want this to end. But Not Just His Plus One is a podcast for women who know they're meant for more. What would be your piece of advice for these women who know they're meant for more, yet they feel stuck?
You know what you need to do. You know that there's more for you. You probably have an idea of what that looks like, whether that's starting a family, changing jobs, moving countries. It's different for everyone. But a piece of you already knows. When you hear those words, you asking that question, I'm sure a vision comes to mind. And I know because this happened to me too. There's a point where you have to stop thinking about it, planning it, getting ready for it, and just start doing. And the doing might be small steps. It's not, you want to live this amazing travel life and move to Bali, for example. You don't just have to book the plane ticket to Bali. Start going out to dinners alone in your hometown and getting comfortable. But you just have to start. You just have to start. You can overthink, overplan, and you'll just keep yourself on that same hamster wheel of knowing there's more for you, but not actually going for it. Just start. Just start. Small steps, but start. You know you're ready.
off the record, I would prefer to book a flight to Bali over going alone in my hometown.
Really? Oh my
goodness,
gosh.
I have so much resentment and
Yep.
like around my hometown.
Yep.
That I would prefer fly me in Zimbabwe if you want.
I
me with the
understand
tribal.
that. I do. Yeah.
Yeah, with the locals over me being. That's over exaggerated a bit. I can handle
I know
it
what you
now,
mean. Yeah.
but
no, I actually had to teach myself to go out in public alone and go to the movies and go to dinner and
Yeah.
go do the things I was waiting for other people to do with me. But that was a whole process, a story for another time.
For
but I
another
get
time.
it. I get it.
Sarah, it was a pleasure, honor, any other word of this universe for me to have you here, sitting in my beautiful chair and podcast and looking at this gorgeous face of yours for the whole conversation. I felt the love, I felt the vulnerability, I felt the connection. Thank you so much for being part of not just his plus one, and hopefully of my life as well. And it's a wrap.
Yay.
Yay! And I need to turn this off.
Yes.